Have you ever found yourself in a conversation with a man who suddenly seems distant, as if he's pulling away just to see if you'll chase him? Or maybe he's testing your patience with little jabs, disguised as jokes, just to gauge your reaction. You feel it, that subtle shift in the air, the unspoken challenge. And in that moment, you're left wondering, is this real or is this a game? Here's the truth you might not want to hear, but need to. Men test women. Not all of them, not all the time, but often enough that it's a pattern worth recognizing. And it's not because they're cruel or because they enjoy mind games, though some might. It's because on some level, they're searching for something. Security, strength. A woman who knows her worth so deeply that she refuses to play along with the unspoken script. Carl Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." And isn't that the heart of it? When a man pulls away, when he plays hot and cold, when he pushes just to see how much you'll bend, what he's really revealing is his own uncertainty, his own fear, because a man who is solid in himself doesn't need to test a woman's loyalty. A man who is truly confident doesn't need to see how much she'll tolerate before she breaks. So let's reframe this. It's not about whether you pass or fail his test. It's about whether you're willing to take the test at all. Think about it. How many times have you dimmed your light, softened your voice, made yourself smaller just to make him comfortable? How many times have you swallowed your frustration, brushed off the little digs, told yourself, maybe if I just show him how patient I am, he'll see how much I care? But here's the deeper truth. A woman who knows her value doesn't prove it on demand. She doesn't perform loyalty like a circus act. She doesn't shrink herself to fit into the narrow space of his insecurities. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And isn't that the ultimate freedom? The courage to walk away from the tests, the games, the unspoken negotiations for your attention. Because the moment you realize his behavior isn't about you, it's about him, everything changes. His distance isn't a reflection of your worth. His hesitation isn't a sign of your inadequacy. It's a mirror of his own unresolved fears. And here's where the power shifts. When you stop reacting, you start leading. When you refuse to play the game, you rewrite the rules. Suddenly, it's not about whether he chooses you, it's about whether you choose him. Because a woman who cannot be tested is a woman who cannot be controlled. A woman who sees the game for what it is doesn't get caught in the drama. She steps out of it entirely. So the next time you feel that subtle tug, that unspoken challenge, ask yourself, is this the energy I want to invite into my life? Because the most powerful thing you can do isn't to prove yourself. It's to remain unshaken, to look at the test, smile, and walk away. Not in anger, not in defiance, but in quiet certainty. And that's how you change the game forever. There's a moment, right before a woman decides she's done, where something inside her shifts. It's not loud. It doesn't come with slammed doors or dramatic speeches. It's quieter than that, more final. It's the moment she realizes, I don't have to prove anything to him anymore. Have you ever felt that? That quiet click in your soul when you understand, deep in your bones, that his behavior isn't a puzzle for you to solve. That his mixed signals aren't a code you're meant to crack? That the right man won't make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for a role in his life? This is where most women get stuck, in the why. Why is he doing this? Why doesn't he see what he's losing? Why am I not enough? But here's the truth, the why doesn't matter. What matters is what you do next. Jung called it shadow work, the act of facing the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. And isn't that what's really happening when a man tests a woman? He's not just testing her, he's testing himself. Can I handle a woman who knows her worth? Will I rise to meet her, or will I retreat into my own limitations? His behavior is a mirror, not a verdict. So what do you do when the tests come? When the silence stretches just a little too long, when the energy shifts and you feel him pulling away to see if you'll chase, you stay still. Not because you're playing a game back, not because you're trying to win, but because you finally understand. A woman who chases a man's attention teaches him how to withhold it. A woman who begs for clarity teaches him that confusion is a language she'll accept. But a woman who refuses to dance to that rhythm, she teaches him that her time, her energy, her presence, these things cannot be negotiated. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And isn't that the heart of it? The suffering isn't in the walking away. It's in the staying in the uncertainty, staying in the half-heartedness, staying in the hope that if you just love him enough, he'll finally see you. But love isn't supposed to feel like a negotiation. Love isn't a test you study for. So, here's the question you need to ask yourself. What if walking away isn't losing him, but finding yourself? Because the women who are truly magnetic aren't the ones who bend to fit into a man's life. They're the ones who stand so firmly in their own that a man either rises to meet them or reveals himself unworthy of the space he's taking up. This isn't about pride. It's about power, the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind of power that says, I am not an option. I am not a maybe. I am a certainty. And if you don't see that, that's your loss, not mine. And when you finally embrace that, that's when the real magic happens. There comes a day, perhaps quietly, perhaps after nights of restless turning, when she realizes the most revolutionary act isn't leaving him. It's staying gone. Not with bitterness, but with the serene certainty of a woman who has finally met herself in the mirror and recognized she was always the prize. Have you ever noticed how the universe tests us most fiercely right before a breakthrough? Those moments when you're dangling between old patterns and new wisdom, when every cell in your body screams to text him first, to explain yourself one more time, to make him understand? That's not weakness. That's the friction of transformation. Jung warned us, no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. And what deeper hell is there for a woman than the purgatory of waiting? Waiting for his call, waiting for him to change, waiting for love to feel like something other than an apology you never owed. But here's what they don't tell you about: boundaries. The first man who respects them won't be him. It will be you. That's the alchemy. When you stop tolerating crumbs, you're not just changing your love life, you're rewriting your nervous system's entire definition of safety. Consider this. His tests were never about your worth. They were about his own terror of being inadequate. The hot and cold behavior, the sudden disappearances, the backhanded compliments disguised as jokes. These aren't the actions of a man secure in his ability to love. They're the flailings of someone who knows, on some primal level, that a woman fully rooted in her sovereignty cannot be controlled. There's an ancient Stoic proverb, the more you seek security, the less of it you have. And isn't that the tragic irony? The more you contort yourself to keep him, the less there is of you to love. The more you tolerate inconsistency, the more you teach him you deserve it. But when you become the woman who says, without words, simply through the unshakable way she occupies space, I will not audition for a love that should be freely given, something miraculous happens. The wrong men fall away like leaves in autumn, and the right ones, they stand straighter in your presence. They rise. Because deep down, every man knows when he's in the presence of a woman who has claimed herself. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being impossible to forget. Not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. So let me ask you, what would happen if today you loved yourself exactly as much as you've been begging him to love you? There is a quiet rebellion happening in the hearts of women everywhere. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't come with protest signs or viral hashtags. It happens in the stillness of 3 a.m. realizations, in the way she no longer jumps at her phone's vibration, in the sacred moment when she chooses herself, not as a last resort, but as an act of devotion. Have you ever wondered why society fears a woman who stops chasing? Why men often panic when they realize their mixed signals no longer work on her? It's because they sense what she now knows. A woman at peace with solitude becomes untouchable in the most powerful way. Not because she's cold, but because she's complete. Carl Jung saw this truth when he wrote, The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And what is more terrifying to the insecure masculine than a woman who has done exactly that? Who no longer seeks validation through his approval? Who understands that his intermittent reinforcement, those breadcrumbs of attention, were never about love, but about control? Here's the secret they don't teach you. The moment you stop reacting to his tests is the moment you become the examiner, not of him, but of your own life. Every silent treatment becomes a meditation. Every half-hearted effort becomes a clear answer. Every lukewarm maybe transforms into a resounding no. Not from your lips, but from your absence. The ancient Stoics knew we are not given a good life or bad life. We are given a life. It's what we do with it that determines its quality. And what are you doing with yours? Spending it deciphering a man's mixed messages, or building a reality so vibrant that his presence or absence barely registers? This is where the magic lives, in that space between what you once accepted and what you now demand, in the way your standards become non-negotiable, not because you're rigid, but because you finally grasp the truth. A man who's right for you won't make you question it. He won't keep you guessing. He won't require you to shrink. So, let me ask you this. What if the tests were never obstacles but the universe's way of showing you who you've become? The woman who once tolerated ambiguity now craves clarity. The woman who once confused intensity for intimacy now understands the difference. The woman who used to ask, "Does he like me?" now asks, "Do I like how I feel when I'm with him?" That's the awakening. That's the revolution. And when enough women live this truth, that's how we change the world, one quiet no more at a time.